is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 139. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Michaud, and we call him... sitting here, stormy Austin, Texas, on a Wednesday evening. So I guess on both of our ends, got to be watching out for the puppies with the thunder that's going on right now. But I ask you, as I always do, how you feeling, my friend?
I gotta ask you a question. Do you have any context with that clip there? Are they eating on the offensive player, because that man is literally doing absolutely nothing in that clip? Like, at first I was like, oh yeah, they're cheering for this guy, and I was like, wait, this guy, he fucking sucks.
Yeah,
he just kicks the ball into this dude twice.
No, I think that's their, like, I think from what I remember, I was just on Instagram, like, looking at reels, and I saw that one, so I saved it. I think it's like these guys who have like a Sunday league team together, and that's their like account. So yeah, I think they're kind of, they're giving him a little bit of shit there, which is kind of our style here.
Yeah, that's quite fair. I am doing well, my friend. Just had a great workout. Dove into this Vancouver team. That was a lot of fun. Watched some film. Got to get some breakdown. Oh. Yeah, it was. We ramped it up a little bit. I was excited to dive into that team and how they like to play and the opportunities that we're going to have and hopefully create to go up there and get a dub for the first time in club history. It's been a season of firsts for this team, and I know that they're banking on any sort of extra motivation, extra juice that they can get to propel us to victory. So, I'm looking forward to breaking it down. We got some other exciting things to talk about as well, and as always, just eager to get into it.
Yeah, match preview. Whitecaps coming up on Saturday night, late one, 9:30 out there north of the border. We do have, like you mentioned, some pretty cool, I think, Austin FC related news to talk about. Of course, last business day, we got a match to preview, the nonsense as well here in the midweek. But before we jump into tonight's episode, just want to remind you all, if you haven't yet, rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're watching on the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Helps us grow the pod. And then also hit that notification bell to know when a live stream pops up or a new episode goes live. And of course, on this episode, hit that thumbs up button, like the video, help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords, atone for your sins, wash yourselves clean in the waters of the North End. Whitecaps 9:30 this coming Saturday night. Like you said, you had the deep dive this week, so I will turn it over to you, sir. Talk to us a little bit about what we should be expecting in Vancouver.
Well, we should definitely be expecting a very good team. This Vancouver club is very, very solid. They have one of the best offenses in the league, a dynamic duo of Brian White and Ryan Gauld, who are just absolutely potent. Last game versus the Red Bulls, Brian White became the all-time leading scorer for Vancouver. So with that in tow, they also have Ryan Gauld, who's top 3 all-time in franchise history. So you have 2 current players in the top 3 all-time for goals. That should tell you everything you need to know about the potency of this offense here. In the breakdown, like in the film study that I was doing a little bit, I was getting into it, and this team is pretty much allergic to controlling the ball. They do not want to have a lot of possession. They want to hit you fast. One thing that they're very, very talented at is overloading one side and then quickly changing the field to create a mismatch with defenders on the opposite side. And once that ball changes sides of the field, you see Brian White making a lot of really, really dangerous runs behind the line. He's got great timing. Gauld delivers fantastic balls to him pretty consistently. So it's going to be a team that we really have to account for. They come in, I think they're sitting on 3rd place, but have a game in hand. And with that being said, this team has been able to pump out goals consistently every single matchup that they've had. And it's going to be a real test for us up there north of the border. Outside of that, some other guys that I've been looking at was Takaoko in the net there. He, he's had some good games. They've had some solid matches, and his overall play has been good. But from when I was watching him and looking at, just his kind of consistency, I think he falls asleep every now and then. Like, he can get very lax. He can be a little sloppy with his positioning. If he's caught off of his line, he can definitely be beat. So I think that's something that we're going to have to take advantage of. The guys that I'm looking at to really be impactful here, obviously number 10. Now, when we talked about how this team likes to get up and go and run, that also means that their back line plays quite high, and there creates a lot of space in this midfield. I went back and watched the LA Galaxy game because that's the last game that they lost. Obviously, this is an opponent with the Galaxy that we had just beat. So I wanted to go ahead and take a look at what the Galaxy were doing in that matchup to go ahead and get that win in Vancouver, which is a very difficult place to play. And what they were doing was distributing the ball wide and then getting it back to Puig.
Whoa.
I've heard
okay,
it,
Josh.
I heard it wrong so many times this last weekend. That's kind of embedded into my brain. So we'll go ahead and call him Ricky there. Get it back to Ricky Puig. And he has plenty of time. And he's really being able to pick out his spots. Guys running in, Paintsel and Peck on the wings were able to get past both of the fullbacks on either side. So we will have that speed advantage with Hader on the right. There's a big one. Have Hader on the right. Getting him in but behind the back line with some timely balls from Seba is going to be key. Look to Seba to be more of a distributor than a goal scorer in this matchup. And I think that's going to be a big key for us. And then on the defensive side of the ball, the way that we were physical with Ricky last week is what we're going to have to be with Brian White here. And I'm looking at Brandon Hines-Ike and his ability to be aware of his surroundings. This is something that we've seen from Julio that we don't really like in regard to every now and then turning his head, losing his mark. With Brian White, if you do that, he is going to make a back cut on you. He's going to make a front-facing cut on you. And before you even get a chance to blink, he's going to have the ball in the back of the net. So we're going to have our hands full here. This is a very good team. But we're riding high right now. We're the hottest team in the MLS. By no means does that make me believe that we're the best team in the league. But we're super hot right now. And that's a great thing. We have a ton of confidence going into this matchup. And I know that these guys are going to show up to play.
Yeah, I'm certainly with you on that. I think on both sides, because you mentioned Vancouver and going back and watching what the Galaxy did. The Galaxy, one of only 2 teams that have found 3 points against this Vancouver team so far. You mentioned they're tied for third there. They're just a point behind both Real Salt Lake and the Galaxy for first in the Western Conference. And those are the only 2 teams that they've lost to. So they have taken care of business against everybody else on their schedule. They did benefit from the red card that the Red Bulls picked up out there in New Jersey this past weekend. So maybe they would have dropped that, but that's not what happened, right? They came home with a point. So I'm with you. And they've got a game in hand as well. So on a points per game basis, right, this is the best team in the West through 10 weeks of the season. So I guess the only other things that I have to add on them are that, we could certainly see some changes here because the schedule ramps up for everybody. And I don't think big sweeping changes. Like, I don't think they're going to go back to like old man Damir Kreilach, who was starting at the 9 to begin the season. Now they've got Brian White back up there in his more natural position. I think that's helped them to be sure. But maybe in the midfield, and I know you talk about a couple other guys, Raposo, right? Kubas in that defensive midfield. It's not just the high-powered attack where this team is talented. And I also think on the sidelines, like Vanni Sartini is a coach that I have a lot of respect for. And I believe Sartini and Josh Wolff also go back a little ways together through the U.S. national team system, if I recall correctly. So, yeah, man, and you mentioned too, like, we've never won up there, and there has been some crazy shit that goes on in our matches up there. Like, you think back to the first season, that's where we are leading on the goal that I believe came right before the first half whistle. And then Matt Beasler gets his career-ending concussion, and we get scored on while we're a man down and ultimately end up dropping that game. You think back to last year. Rodney Redis, only MLS goal, came at BC Place last year. And then we get the goal against where Kip Keller is like halfway pushing Bradley Stuver down. while that Sergio Cordova shot is going past them into the net. So I think we will need a little bit of that type of stuff to go our way in this game. And like you mentioned on Sunday's episode when we were closing it out, turf field, like I don't think that, and I guess as we can kind of transition to us now, unless you had anything else to add there, like I said, I think near the end of last season, I don't buy the Driussi, I don't want to play on turf thing, because I just watched Leo Messi go out and destroy the Revs. Again, the Revs are pretty shit to start the year so far, but he went out there at Gillette, played on that turf outdoors, and if the GOAT is doing that, our guys can do that too. My one question about our availability outside of the guys that we know are a little bit banged up, really just Leo at this point, I guess, is our boy Football Critic, our buddy Alex, reported that Danny was in Venezuela earlier this week, potentially getting his passport renewed, which I believe he was saying is the final step to Danny being able to go back up to Vancouver and actually play in this match. The one time he did go up there was on a special work visa, and I guess that is in the rear view now that he is going through the process, getting his new status to be able to play with the Venezuelan national team. So potentially no Danny here this weekend, which is not good. And I think would lean more towards us setting up ultra defensively, even more so than we have against St. Louis and Houston of late.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a team that you might want to just give possession to and stay back in the low block as much as possible, see if you can frustrate them, and then, like you said, hopefully have some stuff start to go your way on the offensive side of the ball. With 10, man, it has to be said that there's a non-zero chance that you're getting 90 minutes out of him here. I don't know if it's a mental thing. He just looks different when he plays on this type of surface. I also don't think it's a great excuse, but I think it's a fact that he just looks like a different player when he goes up there and plays on this turf or anywhere that he's going to be playing on turf. Right. So it's going to be a match that I expect us to be more defensive in. And that point about Danny that you just made is a great little tidbit there, because if he's not available, you might see the Punisher and Valencia just come in and just be there to hit some people, take some people out, and really make sure that our defense is shored up as much as possible. Again, though, even with that game plan strategy in place, we have shown an ability this season to be flexible in our tactics, to be still within the strategy of how we want to play, but tweak it a little bit for certain opponents. And this is an opponent that you might have to do that with and cede the possession. And hopefully then you can hit them on the counter, which they are susceptible to, with some of that speed, because their back line plays very high. And now we have this element of real true speed in Hader, who is coming into his own. He's getting much more comfortable in this offense. Despite the little brush up between him and Alex, they are developing a nice bit of chemistry here. So it's going to be a fun match, man. I think that you're going to see this Austin team get a dub here. 2-1. I'm still riding it, baby. Okay. We're the hottest team in the league, so I'm all in on that. In regards to starting lineup kind of stuff, the availability of Owen, if he's a full go, I think that's going to be a really important factor here, because we're going to need him to be defensive on this, on the Vancouver attack, being able to track back, being able to account for these bodies as they love to do, and switch to possession very fast, because they're not going to want to hold on to it. So it's going to be a bit of a chess match here between Josh and his buddy Santini there. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. It's Owen for me, opposite Hader here. Again, if he's fit, even if he's fit to go 60 here, because of that defensive effort that you mentioned. I don't think that is going to be the prevailing opinion of the fan base, because of the reasons that we all know about. But that's not how we operate here. I want the best player out there for the job. And to me, it's very clearly Owen. And I think regardless, the only two people I'm considering for that spot opposite Hader, assuming health for everybody, is Rigoni. And again, I think Emmy has earned, in my eyes, the right to get a start if the coaches, see fit. I have no issue with it. Again, I don't love that spot, no matter who's in it. Because at the end of the day, Owen Wolff is not our answer on the wing long term, right? But
great
for
point.
what we're working with right now, I think he's the best option, especially here on the road, where we know to whatever degree we end up pulling back and really bunkering, we're going to be more defensive because that's what we're doing. It has been stated that our goal is to average a point per game on the road. That doesn't mean we're not going after a win, but we're going to be extremely conservative in how we try to execute that game plan.
Absolutely. That's a very good point. And another thing with Owen there is he has shown an ability to work in tight spaces and find people with through balls past the defensive line. And again, as we've talked about, like this Vancouver back line plays up high. They're going to be able to be exposed at some point in time. So his ability to work in intricate spaces and find through balls to cutting guys might be a big key to the game here.
Yeah, and I think, again, if we don't have Danny, to me, it doesn't have to be Johan, but for me, it sure feels like it should be. Because we know the type of job he can do, especially in these road matches, right? As ugly as it looked in the first 5 weeks of the season, especially away from home in Seattle and in Orlando, the toothless attack the attack was just non-existent in those games, right? Mm-hmm. But the defense was still there. And again, taking on a ton of shots, we've gone through that. So I'm completely comfortable if it has to be Johan. Again, I think that lowers our ceiling in this game. But yeah. We've seen him do his job and do it well. So when it comes to the prediction for me, I hate doing this. I hate doing it.
That's why I don't do it. That's why I don't do it.
I got a 2-1 loss here.
Fair.
And actually, I actually think I'm scrolling down here. I got 2-0 actually was the prediction. So I'm going to stick with that. I think they get one on us some point in the middle of the game, ends up pulling us out of that defensive structure that has been so successful throughout these first 10 games. And they sneak another one past us as we're stretched a little bit thin. But if that is the way the game script plays out, and I hope it doesn't, I want a result here. I would like it to be that because we're going for it, right? That we do see a change that is maybe not like for like, right? Going a little bit more offensive, trying to catch back up in this game and get that point that's, not from a 0-0 draw here on the road. Like that is a situation where give me CJ if we're chasing the game for 15 or 20 minutes with those fresh legs to run. Because again, the minutes he did get against Houston, he was pretty good in terms of his tracking back and his energy and obviously his athleticism. But yeah, I think it's going to be a battle as it always is on the road here. And again, I hope I'm wrong.
Me too. They're a very good team. So I really can't blame you for that. One thing I did forget to mention is that this team is in the lower third of the league in touches and inside the opponent's box. Mm-hmm. And that is an area that we are committed to keeping teams out of. So another part of the chess piece is in play here. Like they don't want to get into that zone. So how are we going to be able to limit them from changing the field and then hitting us with a quick 1-2 and Brian White is getting a header and you see Brian White with a beautiful little back heel, a nice touch to put the ball behind Stuver. In that Galaxy game, White easily could have scored 4 goals. I mean, he had a header off the bar. He stole the ball from the keeper. McCarthy ran back, tracked back, pushed it out of bounds, missed another super close one. Eventually did end up scoring. So he's very dangerous. We're going to have to account for him. And I mean, we got our work cut out for us. That's for sure. But I'd hope that this team, it just seems to be rallying around one another, and you're getting these results coming, and now you're buying in even more, and that just is a great thing for our confidence levels. So I know we're going to be going in flying high, but still humble and understanding that we have a large task at hand here to take care of with this team. I'm looking forward to it. I know that those guys are. Danny, I hope you get back, brother. We need you. 10, get that mind right, brother. Make sure we can deal with this turf aspect. And then another big aspect is Rubio. Because, again, that's going to be our cuts behind that back line for some through balls. Seba in a much more distributor role. You can find a way through there. So let's go get it.
Yeah, absolutely. 2-1 victory for E. 2-0 loss for me. We'll move on from that and move on to some of the other Austin FC news of the week. First of all, congratulations to Hodder Obrian and Josh Wolff for making MLS Team of the Matchday. Deserved for both of those guys, to be sure. And, you know, me looking through my Verde-colored lenses here, I think we could have got another guy in there. Diego Rubio, Alex Ring, Brad Stuver. I don't know. I think all of those guys could have gotten a spot, at least on the bench of the team of the match day, but we'll take the two that we got and keep it moving.
Absolutely. Congrats. Well deserved.
So Coach Wolff actually was on Sirius XM this morning and talked a little bit about the team, where they're at right now, obviously the momentum that they are building. So I did want to listen to that here. Let me pull this up and see if we can get the audio going and listen to what Coach Wolff had to say.
How do you have momentum inside a game? How do you maximize momentum inside a game? And this league is so critical. And you see the very best teams, if it's 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes of momentum and they have it, and we did it this year against San Jose, where you punish for 3 goals, but the momentum comes and the surge comes. So that can also carry an effect in the way that you're performing. If you're grabbing results, it doesn't matter what's happening on the field. If there's requirements inside the game, and if you can grab momentum by winning games, winning a game late against Houston gives us real momentum. Winning, putting our stamp down on our home games against San Jose and Dallas in the way that we typically do, dominating an opponent, controlling an opponent. Obviously, one of those turned into a shootout. It brings momentum and belief. The validation there happens with the winning. But, once you start grabbing that momentum and you see the successes that can come from the group, now you really start to push the belief envelope. And guys right now have full belief in what we're doing. And obviously, the execution has gotten better. But it's 10 games in, and we know it's a challenging league in all ways. We got to continue to stay healthy. We have to be realistic. Our expectations are that we want to make the playoffs. We are not Philadelphia. We are not Seattle. We are not LAFC. We have to know who we are and the players that we have and the qualities that we have and play to our strengths. Really try to minimize shooting ourselves in the foot, but maximize what we have and the qualities and really continue to build the camaraderie and the belief inside the group.
So I guess I'll let you go first. Any thoughts on what Coach had to say there?
I think that was some pretty important stuff that he said there. The thing that stands out to me is identity. And earlier in this season, we were really struggling with our identity and what we were going to be. Now, health was a factor in that, but knowing who you are, the limitations of what you can actually do with this roster is an important thing, because then you're able to find small pockets where you can maximize things that you do well. And we talked about last week how this team has shown to have a chip on their shoulder. Like, we are finding interesting ways to motivate guys to be ready to play. So I like what he had to say there. I thought that when he brought up Seattle, that was interesting, given their positioning right now. But understanding that, that's a club that's storied,
the long-term view,
storied in this league for sure, and usually has a plethora of talent. So I like knowing who you are. I really, that is an important thing. Teams can, like we said before, you and I were chatting, this team's currently sun running. Like, we're hot right now. Like, we are not actually this good.
Right.
But we are finding ways to beat teams, to thug out games, just really take some blows, withstand it, and win games. Like he said there, Houston late, that's a ton of momentum. That is huge for this team. So, and then you go and follow that up by beating the shit out of the Galaxy and really, really dominating them. And that is just all the validation that you're going to need. And then this team is going to, again, test that validation. Test if you're actually being able to, follow through with what the coaches want this team to do. And then you tie that back into what Rubio had to say after he got the game ball, that these players are listening to the coach. They have bought in, and that's what we want to see, So we're going to go out there and we're going to compete. And I can live with that. And it's just a lot of fun to root for this team. So I'm going to be cheering my ass off ready for this game.
Yeah. I think the first 60 seconds of that clip, there's a couple of things that I could have quibbled with. Like, I think he said we typically dominate home games. That just hasn't been the case for a while. Yeah. But at the same time, like you said, talking about how the guys are buying in, and the belief starts to come when you start to string together a couple of wins. And that type of belief can take you through the next rough patch and get you back on track, because there will be a rough patch. And then that's where I loved the end where he came back and said, man, our goal is to make the playoffs. We're not getting ahead of ourselves here after this month-long hot stretch. Like, it's great. We'll take it and we want to keep it going, right? But just knowing that they still have their eyes on the season-long goal, because we're not a third of the way through the season until like middle of next week, technically. So man, I don't know. I was pleased to hear that type of sentiment from Coach. Just, you know, keeping their heads on straight. Like, it's up to us to bloviate about how damn good the team has been and how great we are and what we're going to do down the road. You know, they're focused on the task at hand, and that is finishing inside that top 7. Because I would want to know, maybe Phil or Eric or Michelle or somebody can ask him, is your goal for the playoffs top 7, or are you guys okay with the wild card game? Because that's a big distinction. Like, if you got to go play that one and done, you know, I've always said I don't consider that the playoffs. It is extra soccer, so I get the other side of the argument. But to me, I hope that goal is top 7.
I'm with you there. And I mean, like we talked about, he's been pretty chirpy in his post-game pressers, but this is a clear step back, and just being able to understand we're 10 games in, we got a long ways to go. But at some point in time, you keep playing well, you keep adding, you get to add some players here. When is it, does the expectation become, hey, we want to host a playoff game? We want to play in front of our team, like our fans and everything. And, he talked about dominating teams at home, which I don't necessarily agree with over the, over the course of the long haul. Like you brought up as well.
Hey,
but
three in a row.
Being able to, have a home game, we're undefeated in the playoffs at home, right?
We are indeed. Although, with the new format, which we haven't participated in yet, as long as you're in that first round, you will get a home game because it's best of 3. But we want to have the home field advantage and have game 1 and a potential game 3. So I totally am with you what you're saying there.
My apologies there. Yes, I forgot about our tasty little format after missing the playoffs last season.
And then what you said too, just kind of about his tone, like, it's way different when he's not coming down off being amped up from the game and winning and all that. So different sort of tone there. So we can move on here. And this is maybe the most important piece of news in a while here for Austin FC. And that is that ESPN is reporting that Austin FC is finalizing a deal with the league to host the 2025 MLS All-Star Game. Talks are near completion, according to ESPN. Got to get the legal stuff in order. And the opponent for the game has yet to be announced. So, of course, there's a lot of stuff that comes with the All-Star Game, right? You're going to get various events and pop-ups and things of that nature around town, around the stadium. You're going to get the skills challenge. The MLS Next All-Star Game. We get goalie wars at QT Stadium, which all of that is going to be awesome. And, I would imagine you and I are going to try to be in attendance for as much of this stuff as possible. Although I can only imagine how expensive it's going to be for us, considering that all of the MLS All-Stars will be in town. And as long as he's healthy, that means Leo Messi's, you would think, first trip. Maybe we get Miami here early next season, but Messi at Q2. And I guess that leads me to my next point. I want to let you talk about those things as well, but I know who I want to see in terms of on the field in that game, but anything else for you on just like the game coming here?
I mean, it's just really awesome. And I think it's a testament to the way that we've been able to fill out this stadium every single time we're playing in front of at the Q, So I think that there's something to be said that they've recognized what this community is building, the passion that the fans have here for this team, and the sport in general, this league in general now. So I think it's a beautiful thing. And I don't know what we're gonna have to shell out, but we're gonna have to start dropping a lot of hammers on these bets. Hopefully, crank the units up to.
Yeah, man, we got to start a
1,500.
fucking Patreon to pay for these tickets, bro. Fucking shit. Yeah, man. I for me, the best answer is East versus West.
Mhm.
I want that. We have enough stars. Like the last thing I want to see, and of course this year it is back to, I believe, Liga MX. They're all stars facing off against MLS, which has been competitive, in the past.
Mhm.
But we also see those two leagues go at it the next week when Leagues Cup starts. So, that's just your appetizer to two leagues at the same time. I don't want to see Arsenal or Real Madrid or Man City. I don't want to see that. Yeah. And I understand that fans of those teams and fans of the Big Five leagues, right, would probably be more in favor of that. But we're going to get the shit beat out of us again, just like last year when Arsenal dubbed us 5 or 6-0 because we have a group of mercenaries and they have one of the best teams in the world that practices together year in and year out. It's a terrible idea in my eyes. And again, I think we have enough guys in both conferences to build really fun, really star-studded teams. So any of your thoughts on that? I kind of want to go through these teams and just list off guys from each conference that we could put on a team and make it work and make it fun and competitive. But anything else for you there?
Yeah, I mean, you presented that idea to me, and I was like, yeah. And it's interesting because, like, obviously, all the sports that we follow outside of this, that's how they do it. That's the format. It's intra-league players, And I understand the aspect of wanting to see a club like Madrid or Arsenal or what have you there. But the players within the league are recognizable now. Like we have the interest there where it's like we have these big names. So I'm with you. Like try to capitalize on that. And again, like you said, just having a dudes who have practiced together for 3 days go up against one of the best teams in the world is just really not a great look for MLS. I'd be interested to see like what Arsenal fans across the way think of this game, because I don't think that I don't think you're getting any interest out of these fans. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know what your actual end goal there is. Is it like, okay, we want to hone in on targeting the Arsenal fans that are here in the States and then just happen to be in Austin or what have you. Right. So I think there's a better way to do it. And, if we got to petition the league, we got to petition the league.
Yeah. I mean, just from the West alone, and obviously your 10s, your high caliber attacking players are going to stand out more, but like Chicho and Puig and Paintsil and Joveljic and Gall and White, and then Buong, and I'm just naming off attacking players here, but Tafari and Seattle Shrek and Yamar there, right? And Tim Parker, right? Like these guys are still top tier center backs in this league. And then you get Stuver and you get Hugo Lloris, right? You can have that name in there while also giving recognition to a top 4 or 5 keeper in the league right now in Brad Stuver. Jesus Ferreira. There's so many names. Pedro de la Vega, if he ever gets healthy, right? Evander. And that's just the West. We can get 22 guys from each conference that are high caliber, all-star level talent in this league. And then you don't even have to get started on the East. You could just bring Miami.
And get
fill in the gaps there.
Cabecita in the West too. You can get him in there. That's you know what I mean. Like you're right. There's a lot to work with. So I mean, I'm in there. Are we gonna do this little draft at some point in time? You feeling spicy about that? You feeling juicy about it?
Maybe we should down the road. I don't think I could literally name. I would have to go through like the back lines of all these teams to try to like get an order in my head. I can't do that off the top of my head, unfortunately. But maybe that's for like, we're going to have some off weeks, I think, in June and stuff leading up to this year's All-Star Game. So maybe we circle back on that and build our own East and West All-Star teams, because we're not going to get that this year. We're consolidated into one team, which, again, it just kind of sucks because there's more guys that deserve All-Star recognition in this league of 29 teams than just to fill out one team. So
You're making some good points.
I mean,
we're gonna have to talk to Bogart, see if he can get this up the channel.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I mean, Cucho and Forsberg and Lucho and almost anybody from fucking Philadelphia, Yorgos, Almada from Atlanta, right? We haven't seen much of Gregerson yet on their back line, but he's supposed to be extremely good when healthy.
Dagger Dan, of course.
Yeah, Dagger, just for the name value.
Gotta have Dagger Dan in the All-Star game.
Yeah, man. So very excited for that next July, right? July 25 All-Star game coming to Austin. And that was a pretty cool surprise this week.
That was a fantastic surprise.
All right, well, let's get into last business day here because Austin FC 2 back on the road this Friday up against our big rivals from last year. And similar to FC Toe, here in the early part of the season, the results for Rapids 2, not nearly as good as they were in 2023. Rapids 2 right now sitting on just 4 points from their 6 matches. Again, Austin FC 2, the spot above them in the Western Conference standings with 5 points through their 5 matches. But the Rapids, man, 4-game losing streak here. They've given up 15 goals in their 6 matches. And, you remember the names from this team last year, right? Like, obviously, the Grillmaster got traded up there, but Remy Cabral was there. He's no longer there. Oliver Larraz is now starting for their first team. Moise Bombito, of course, made the move late last season up to full-time first-team status. And a number of other guys. Hanya was there, right? No longer with this team. The one name that I do recognize and is leading them in goals with 4 is Marlon Vargas. So that is the lone holdover that I recognize. Where I'm like, okay, yeah, we're going to have to know where that guy is at all times. But this is nowhere near the daunting task. Just at least on paper. I can't say I've watched any Rapids 2 film yet, but not the same daunting task as it was in 2023.
Man, that was a fun matchup last year.
Yeah,
those
awesome.
were 2 really, really good teams. I'm pretty sure Vargas had that goal that lifted the entire goal.
Yeah, you're right.
Off of the ground, and that was one of the most impressive things that I've ever seen. So, this league is just gonna. We got our introduction to it last year, right? Like we were shown the ropes, and now we are understanding that this is going to be something that continuously changes year after year. You're going to lose plenty of guys to USL. You're going to lose guys who get juiced up. Juiced up. I don't want to imply anyone's taking steroids at next pro. Juiced up in regard to moving up the ranks there. So yeah, I haven't seen a Colorado Rapids 2 game here, so
yeah,
but fuck them.
Yeah, of course. That is always the case here. Okay, so talking about us, right? Obviously, CJ up with the first team. Yep. I don't expect that to change at this moment.
Don't think it should.
I think we probably see the same 11 we rolled out last week is my guess. But I guess my questions here for the lineup graphic that we will get late on Friday night, because this is a 9 p.m. Central kickoff there in Colorado. Where are the Garcias? Anthony and Chris, right? Chris, we know, picked up that injury, and I imagine is still struggling with it.
Mm-hmm.
We saw Anthony Garcia the first match and have not seen him since. So I'm just waiting for the day we get a Garcia back on this bench. Not that that's make or break or anything. I'm just wondering. We don't get injury updates. We don't have pressers with them. Nor should we probably. But, that's just something I'm looking out for here. And I would hope that they come out with a little bit of extra bite because of the way we dropped points last week. That should have been 3.
That definitely should have been 3. And, you get Sebas up there at the top, and he has the brace, and that really kind of, was the tipping point for me, where it's like, all right, we need to stop experimenting with Santillan up there or Micah up there. Like it's Sebas. It's 100% of the time. It needs to be him. He unlocked us. The thing I'm looking at is Bonachera, how much he is adjusting to our style of play, like still getting acclimated and all that stuff, because obviously he's going to be a good talent for us. And like you brought up with the Garcias there, the bench is just really young right now. I mean, we just have a lot of young kids on the bench who are just not ready to be put into these situations. So I am also curious about that. But, you know, it is what it is. We have who we have. We got to go out there and roll the ball out there and go get it done.
All right, last thing to do here in last business day. How much is Austin FC2 winning by on Friday night?
I think we're going to blow this up. I think it's going to be 3-0. I think we're going to kick some ass here. Like you said, we, again, Sebas, a difference maker, goal scorer, guy can do it. And like you said, you know, this team should have a really shit taste in their mouth after the way that game ended. And it's been a rough start to a season. But this is a team that, you know, with our limited information and knowledge on them, you can go ahead and thrash. And I'm going to go ahead and say 3-0 here.
All right, I'll go 2-1 victory here. I do think we get the 3 points, bouncing back from the disappointment last week. But as always, we don't care how you get it done, boys. Bring us home the 3 points. We will be cheering for you. And he will close out this week's episode, as we always do in the midweek, with the nonsense. And we will start with the best ball update.
It ain't fun this year.
Yeah. Well, at least this part.
It's actual it's all right. Yeah.
Well, North End Podcast, third straight week in the low 20s, 22 points. We miss, I believe, another 5 players. You're looking here at the box score. Not great. We did see Walker Zimmerman come back and finally step on the pitch, so maybe we're getting healthier. But then Galese was awful. I don't know if you looked at the goals that he let in. And this morning, Andre Blake put on his Instagram story that he wants out of Philadelphia. So we may be struggling even longer here. But so to get to the teams that are competent right now, and by that I mean the other 5 in our league. Phil West, just 36 points on the week, but good enough to keep his overall lead. Verde Pendant win the week, 49 points, closing that gap up top, just 10 points behind Verde all day now. We Are Austin TV continues to creep towards Moon Tower Soccer in the race for third, 44 on the week to Moon Tower's 40, 415 total for Moon Tower, 410 for We Are Austin TV. And then Texas Ring of Fire has been waiting for Leo Messi to get healthy and play in these regular season matches, back-to-back weeks of 19 points, gives them 36. They are now 16 points ahead of us in that spoon race. And look, it's a long season, but we need to start making some things happen here now that the calendar has turned to May.
It is a long season for us. You have to take us out back, man. This is Christy Nome style.
Yeah, it's anyways, congratulations to our opponents on another strong week.
Yeah, good.
We'll be
them.
back,
yeah.
maybe.
You're welcome that we invited you. Yeah. Don't get too comfortable, Phil.
Let's take a look at the bets from week 10E because we ended up a little bit down for the week, minus 0.75 units. So given my state of sobriety when we were at the beach on Friday when I wrote this up, I'll take it.
Yeah.
We miss on the Union at home against RSL, miss on Atlanta United on the road against the Fire. But we did get Inter Miami plus 115 on the road. That'll teach the books to put Miami at plus money against the fucking Revs. Goal scorers. We do get Chancalay plus 225 in the first minute. We also got Brian White plus 290. Messi at minus 105. Missed on Forsberg, Gall, Driussi, Abada, Almada, and Agata. That's a hell of a trio to end that list there. I did not plan that, but Abada, Almada, Agata. That could be your fantasy team name. So now down to negative 0.34 units on the season. So through 10 weeks, again, not down even a full unit. We will certainly take this.
Absolutely.
And the interesting thing about the board this Wednesday evening is we do not have any goal scorer props posted yet, which is a bummer because we've had those on midweek episodes through the majority of this season. So a lot less to talk about here in terms of what we're eyeing. But I know you and I were discussing Miami minus 130 here hosting the Red Bulls. Obviously, we respect the shit out of the Red Bulls, but respect Miami just a little bit more, especially at home here. And -130 feels pretty good. As long as we've got, Messi and Suarez and Busquets out there, probably going to roll with that one.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how you can't really.
Yeah.
As long as they're healthy, like that's where to go. We talked about LAFC as well in San Jose. Just a clear talent discrepancy going on there. You can get them at +120. We talked ourselves out of it. FC Cincinnati with some interesting news going on with that club.
But, Bupenza, man.
That's a wild season. Right now we got some pretty interesting stuff going on around the league with some pretty good players. You got
Reynoso,
who's just been MIA. Where is this dude?
Yeah.
So
even Louis Adeniran was out a couple weeks with disciplinary stuff. Apparently he's ready to go this weekend. He's back in the team, but they had Leuven and Adeniran. Maybe those guys fought. I don't know. I hope they do it again.
Yeah, do it again, please.
But Aaron Bupenza apparently now, he's been benched the last 2 weeks, and then broken jaw. I imagine he got punched in the face by somebody because, looking at, we were joking about the sex tape warrant in Gabon. Yeah. We were joking about his back heel goal on the goal line all by himself in the preseason. And now he just looks like a dickhead.
Yeah.
Just the way he's I don't know, man. Out on that guy.
The
last one we were talking about, Sounders and the Galaxy. This is in Seattle, and it's on Sunday. So Seattle played last night on Tuesday, the makeup game for the game that was rained out about a month ago. So they do have the extra day. They don't have to turn around and play Saturday. But Galaxy coming in, if Jovic is good to go here, Galaxy +235, I don't imagine that they're just taking the beatdown they got in Austin last week in stride. I think they probably have a little bit more oomph to them this week. And +235 with that offense, we've seen them be successful against other top teams in the West, Vancouver being one of them, on the road. So Seattle, the way they're still struggling a little bit, although they did take the lid off the goal last night against Philly. I like Galaxy +235. So definitely got our eyes on that as well.
That's a good one to keep your eyes on for sure.
Yeah. All right. Anything else for you before we get out of here?
Nope. Let's go get these Canadians.
Absolutely. Appreciate you tuning in, sticking with us here in episode 139 of the North End podcast. We are back on Sunday, recapping the road match against the Whitecaps, recapping Austin FC 2's road tilt against Rapids 2, and talking about everything else Austin FC that happens in between. Enjoy the rest of your week, everybody. Stay dry out there. It's going to be a wet end to the week. Enjoy it. We'll see you back here on Sunday. Until then, he's E. And I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.